Draft season has officially begun, and the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast is here for you with our mock draft episode on the eve of the heat wave. Reminder right off the bat, the heat wave starting on June 24th and continuing for 32 days, 32 teams, 32 days. Every single day you get a podcast from us. It's between like 20 and 27 minutes or so, 28 minutes or so. Very digestible, goes over every fantasy relevant player through every team so that you are fully prepared for every single player in every single round in your drafts. And if you want to really be fully prepared, don't only listen to that, because we get all our stats from the Fantasy Football by Broto app, and you can get those stats and become your own expert with that app, and it's completely free. And we just want to give a thank you over to the patrons over at patreon.com/BrotoFantasy, because you are the reason why it's free, and you are the reason why the lights stay on in this mother ucker. You know what I'm saying? But without any further ado, let's get it started. Let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast, presented by BrotoFantasy.com and the Fantasy Football by Broto app, the only tool you need to dominate fantasy football. Yes, sir, we are back, and I am joined by my partner in crime. Again, I'm partner in crime is just what's been coming out of my lips for whatever reason. The Dynasty Don himself, the fantasy encyclopedia, Mr. Matthew.
What up? I'm so happy to be back with you, bro.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute, and look, listen, it's the summertime, but it's heating up now, baby. It's heating up. Yeah. It's football season. I don't know if you watched the Netflix show yet, Quarterback.
No, but I saw the trailer, like the 2 minute or 4 minutes of the first 4 minutes of the first episode. There you go. I finally got it out.
It's a recommend. It's a recommend. The Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks.
Are
you kidding me? I am ready. And we're going to be doing the heat wave, and we have a little surprise for you. If you go to youtube.com/BrotoFantasy, we have a little preview of what you're going to see in the heat wave. We've got our banner up. Not our banner, our what do you call this thing? What do you call this thing around us?
You can call it banner.
Banner? No, that's not a
background.
Banner overlay?
Sure.
Background? Sure. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, overlay. They call it overlay on StreamYard.
Overlay.
But yeah, our new and improved like little TV screen here. So come check us out with a little bit of a preview of the heat wave and what to expect.
Tonight, yet another.
Just playing just the tip.
Tonight, yet another stat.
Oh, not playing just the tip. All right, so as you guys know, the heat wave's coming. 32 teams in 32 days. But before we get into each specific player, let's get into a whole draft, baby. Let's do it. Let's kind of give an overview of what we're talking about, because right now, as we were recording, these ADPs are all over the place. And if you're drafting now, if you're one of those people who are having a draft right now, this is the time to take advantage of the people who haven't been paying attention, who haven't been listening to the Fantasy Football by Broto podcast. Honestly, we do mad work on people who just like haven't been paying attention all year. As the years go on, this is our 7th year here at Broto. As the years go on and you start to notice the trends very closely, you start to know one big trend is, if you paid attention during the offseason, you have a giant advantage. So we're here to help you pay attention during that offseason. We're going to talk about a lot of players. So I'm going to share my screen here, and you can see it over at, again, youtube.com/BrotoFantasy. And I'm going to try my best to to narrate, how we do. Yeah. So this is how me and Matt have decided to do this. We are going to have a 12.
Bookend it.
Yes, we're going to bookend it. 12-team PPR snake draft. I'm going to be picking first. Matt's going to be picking 12th. So we're both going to be at turns here. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 2 flex. Is that a super flex? Did you add a super flex, Matt?
Maybe. I don't think there should be. Look at the ADP. No, there's no super flex.
No, this is not super flex. So I don't know. Something's over there. Like something's glitching on the bottom right there. But anyway,
Something's
So
glitching, my man said.
basically, the standard way that you'd play in your league. For me personally, in my home league, we have one less flex and one more wide receiver, but it's basically the same here. And we're gonna just
Oh,
go
there
with
is a super flex spot there. Would you look at that?
okay. It looks like we're in super flex mode then.
I mean,
What are the
we could
settings?
just
Go to the settings.
maybe I can fix that real quick, bro. I can fix it.
Yeah, take the super flex out of here. We're not trying to do.
I know,
You know what is Matt is just
Dynasty Matt over
Dynasty.
here trying to
There's only
corrupt
one.
everyone's minds.
There's only one way to play Dynasty. It's with super flex. I mean,
That's a fact. That's a fact.
the Dynasty League that the Broto Dynasty League is not a super flex, but the only reason why that one is acceptable is because the 16 team league. So, but if you're in like a 12-man league and it's a take away that super flex. I mean add that super flex if you're in a Dynasty League, for sure. As Matt gets rid of it, there it goes live on the screen.
Now we just have 2 bench to keep it a little 10 rounder.
All right, sounds good. So 2 bench spots.
If you want them sleepers, you got to tune into the heat wave.
Oh yeah, we're talking about everybody. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, 2 flex, and 2 bench spots. All right, so I am the first pick. So let's get it started. Look, if you've been listening, you know my spiel. My spiel is I want running backs early. I want to have a running back early, but at the same time, Justin Jefferson is staring me in the eyes here. And Christian McCaffrey, although he is a very great player and you know what you're going to get, he just doesn't stay healthy enough for me to really trust him when you have Justin Jefferson just waiting on the board here. I think I'm not going to make it complicated. I'm going to go wide receiver. I also think that if you look at running backs, I think there are many running backs.
Ooh, turn off those sleeper beepers, bro.
Yeah, what was that? Jeez.
Them sleeper beepers.
There you go. If you look at those running backs, there are some guys that are just their ADPs are just stupid. And I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want Matt to snipe me.
Oh, I'm going to snipe you anyway. Don't worry.
Dude, these running backs that are going late right now, I'm totally cool with them being my starting running backs as well. Like, I think that we're RB dead zone at this point. I don't want to make it seem like I'm an RB dead zone aficionado or a pusher of that narrative. But at this point, the RB dead zone is going to be a different RB dead zone than we're going to see in a month because people are going to start wising up. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson with the number 1 pick here. Did I disappoint you, Matt?
No, that was the pick. That's the pick, man.
All right, so then we got Christian McCaffrey, team 2. Always hurts when the guy you passed on gets picked right after you. Team 3 takes Jamar Chase. Team 4, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, who second running back off the board. That seems like something that's been unpopular from what I've seen online, but I think smart. So Austin Eckler, second running back off the board. Cooper Kupp, 1.7. Stephon Diggs, 1.8. For me, man, Stephon Diggs' price is just a little too high this year. I just can't go into a season with Stephon Diggs being my best player. I had Stephon Diggs last year. He was great. I enjoyed rostering him, but I also had Austin Eckler, and I'm just not comfortable with Stephon Diggs being my number 1 player, knowing that sometimes he just disappears. That's just how he's always been. The fact that he's the only guy on the team, sometimes teams can scheme him out of game plans. Excuse me. So I'm just not comfortable with Stephon Diggs there. How are you feeling about Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Diggs proprietor at all times, but I absolutely know what you mean. And I mean, I think 1.8 is more than fair. Cooper Kupp 1.7 makes sense too. You're gonna have to take Diggs right after him. I'm seeing these running backs and wide receivers kind of trade a little bit of places, but I like Diggs still. I'm probably gonna take 1.8 and either draft him or usually you see Eckler in that spot is kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. But Diggs is kind of my de facto late first round wide receiver for sure.
Bijan Robinson going at 1.9 with people not even flinching at the fact that he's a rookie. The last guy you saw going so early, consensus, is the guy taken right after him, Saquon Barkley. And
Facts.
then you have CD Lamb at 111, which again is a little too expensive for my
Me
taste.
too. So that's right where that cutoff comes. And tune into those Heatwave podcasts because you'll know that I'm not taking Jonathan Taylor here either. I do think CeeDee Lamb is projected just slightly too high, but having this 112 turn and kind of feeling a little bit different about this player than I have in years past, especially seeing some receiving upside come, I'm going to take my running back one. I'm taking Nick Chubb. And then I'm going to turn right around. And I think for me, it's got to be between these wide receivers. Like I don't want Jonathan Taylor. Maybe as my RB2, I said, if you're going to go bully running back, I don't mind Jonathan Taylor sitting in that RB2 spot. I think Nick Chubb is more so of my hero RB, the way that I like to build. Garrett Wilson is obviously in play here as well. I think that's an excellent upside pick. Devontae Adams is kind of, for me, I am a little bit worried about some later regression. And of course, Jimmy Garoppolo throwing him the quarterback, who I do believe is a downgrade from Derek Carr. That said, having my hero RB, I think I'm just going to take the obvious AJ Brown here. It's safe. It's sexy.
I love AJ Brown at this spot here. I also really like Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is not really a guy that I've rostered. Again, we're talking about the Heat Wave, but if you listen to the Heat Wave, you'll hear that I never really rostered Derrick Henry either. And it's not because I didn't like them as players, just because I prefer pass catching upside for my running backs. Now, it's still early in the offseason, but everything says that Nick Chubb is going to get that pass catching work. And if you look at the backfield behind him, there's no one really to challenge him for that.
Jerome
So,
Ford.
yeah, I mean,
That's it.
that's it. It's not like you have a Kareem Hunt taking that work from him. So, you saw Nick Chubb add more. Now, it wasn't a lot, but he added more receiving prowess to his game last year. I think Nick Chubb continues to evolve in this offense, and I think Deshaun Watson is the number one wild card in all of fantasy. He has the ability to really change the tone of fantasy football this year. It's kind of insane. But yeah, we're gonna go with Patrick Mahomes after that. So first QB off the board, team 11, Patrick Mahomes and CeeDee Lamb. Yuck. Team 10, Saquon Barkley is followed by Jonathan Taylor as he backs up running backs. Josh Jacobs goes next, followed by Derrick Henry. Amon-Ra St. Brown, whose ADP is kind of getting ridiculous.
I wanted Amon-Ra at 112. And I think another guy that is fading here, I'm going to hop you a little bit, but I was even thinking about scrolling down and just taking back-to-back running backs and taking Tony Pollard and Nick Chubb.
And Tony Pollard goes early, somewhat like the computer is reaching for him, which is interesting. Look, I loved Amon-Ra last year. I really did. He was my sleeper. He was one of my hat hangers. I was all in on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I ended up being right. I'm not drafting him in the second round this year. I'm just not doing it.
I like Amon-Ra, but I was even thinking about taking him at 2-1. So I probably disagree with you there. He's going to be the first wide receiver that I take after AJ Brown.
I think we can't forget his stature, man. I think at the end of the day, is he going to score 12 touchdowns? I don't think so. And I could be wrong, but he's not scoring 12 touchdowns because of his size. And the addition of Jameson Williams. Yeah, we'll get into that in the upcoming. We'll get more into it. Josh Allen again. So 2 quarterbacks in the second round. Michael mentioned that last year people were kind of fading quarterbacks, and so we, as the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast, who were always like draft quarterbacks late, we advise, hey, if you can get Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and these guys in the 5th round, you got to go and get them, or in the 4th round, you got to go and get them. But it's overcorrected again, and Josh,
I do have 6-point passing TDs turned on, but it is very much overcorrected.
Devontae Adams is the next player. Tony Pollard goes next. Jalen Waddle goes after that, and then Garrett Wilson goes after that. So we've got a decision to make for me here. I'm not considering a quarterback here. I've gotten Mark Andrews, tight end. So one of those really rare positions that you can capitalize on here. You got Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Olave, Najee Harris, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Travis Etienne, etc. So here I'm going to back up. Like, remember, I like to have 2 very strong running backs on my team, and I'm already starting with to Justin Jefferson. So I'm going to just back up 2 straight running backs from the AFC East. Breece Hall, at this point, I don't know. I'm hoping he's back for week 1. Even if he's not back for week 1, his talent level is such that I am willing to wait a week or 2 before he gets onto the field. And then Look, I know banking on a New England Patriots
Oh, he's gonna
running
do
back
it.
has not been a smart move in the past,
It was
but
last year.
yeah, it was last year. And when you look at the depth chart, there's just no one to challenge Ramondre, like Damian Harris challenged him last year on the depth chart right now. I think that Ramondre Stevenson has separated himself. I also love the transition to Bill O'Brien, back to Bill O'Brien at offensive coordinator. You saw Bill O'Brien run the offense in Alabama for a few years. They're a run-oriented squad. They run the ball. I'm taking the two backed up running backs, Justin Jefferson, Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, to
Bro,
start for
you
me.
really could have had like wide receiver 1, tight end 1, and QB 1 all in a row, but all right.
I don't want
It's
that.
too early for QB, man.
I'm also not like, look, usually I'm okay. Tight ends, man, if you're giving me the option of me having a better RB2, like people are too concerned with tight end is that lone position where you want to get the positional advantage. Unless you're drafting Travis Kelce, there's no guarantee because Mark
Facts.
Andrews did not return ADP last year.
Yeah, but it was also Tyler Huntley and
I-
yeah. But fair, fair,
Regardless,
fair.
it's the same
Yep,
situation. He did not
I
return
agree.
ADP last year.
Yep.
So unless you're talking, I'm just gonna punt and wait for tight end because I would rather have a giant gap between our RB2s. That's still a one position. RB2 is still one position. I know you play more running backs, but RB2 is one position. So if my RB2 could have 7 more points than your RB2, what does it make a difference if your tight end has 4 more points than mine? So I do think that there's a position scarcity myth somewhat that I will be getting into in little detail when we get to that portion of the heat wave. I'm sorry to be teasing the heat wave so much.
No, that's what this is all about. You got to come in. You got to come in for the pie and stay for the apple pie. What?
That's that's not a saying.
No.
Jalen Hurts goes second in the third round, followed by Mark Andrews that I was just talking about. Chris Olave goes fourth. Najee Harris, who I like this year. I was thinking about Najee Harris over Ramondre Stevenson, but I went Stevenson. Interesting here, Devonta Smith, very high for a number 2 wide receiver. You see Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith and T. Higgins all going in this area where I don't know if I like them here just because of their usage. Although I love the guys, I like them better last year when you can get them in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round.
Yeah. Yep. Things are
They're
getting
expensive. They're expensive. You're paying for consistency there rather
No,
than
I mean
upside.
drafting Devontae as your wide receiver 1 that's yeah.
Yeah, it's risky.
You're expecting a jump.
T. Higgins, Keenan Allen goes next. Jameer Gibbs. Did
That was
that break
sniped
your
hurt
heart?
me. Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
Oh,
that broke your
they
heart.
jumped him by exactly the ADP. You know how on Sleeper gives you the little line of like your next draft pick or whatever? It
Yeah.
was Jameer Gibbs, and I was like, this works out way too perfectly.
Oof.
and then team 8 wants to go 3 running backs in a row and just absolutely ruins my life. But
Some Lamar Jackson goes after that. Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Jameer Gibbs is not a bad start if you're going to go heavy running back. And DK Metcalf. All right, Matt, you have Nick Chubb and Antonio Brown. AJ Brown, excuse me. Who is your double picks on this turn? I think I know which one of them is for sure.
yeah. This one's kind of tough for me. Like I'm definitely. I mean, it's standing right there at the top of the board. So for all the listeners that know, I'm a big Travis Etienne fan. I will be drafting him here at this 3rd round turn. The next pick becomes a little more difficult for me because I think Kenneth Walker does still possess big game upside and big play upside, even with a limited touch count with Zach Charbonnet coming into town. I obviously like Joe Burrow a lot. I was going to give him a little French accent, Joe Burrow, but 4-1 is still a little too early for me for QBs, especially if you scroll over to that QB ADP on your sleeper drafts right now in these PPR leagues, you're going to see some pretty good value that is coming back after the guys reach on the Joe Burrows, the Lamar Jacksons. You're still going to get the Trevor Lawrences. You're still going to get the Justin Fields a little bit later. So I'm thinking about waiting on that. For me, after having my 2 running backs locked in and I have a top end wide receiver, I really want to go wide receiver again. And I'm looking at these wide receiver ADPs, and one of them jumps out more than any of the others. And it might be a little bit of a reach, I think. Just just by a few picks, but Amari Cooper is still the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. I'm not as high on Deebo Samuel. Calvin Ridley, I think, is a little more inconsistent than Amari Cooper. I can get some great wide receiver value later, especially, hopefully. I think I got to take Amari. I got to go for that all Cleveland stack. I don't actually love this pick at all, but returning wide receiver 2 value with Cooper, I guess, is not as bad. You can talk me out of it if you want, but I think that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and get the Deshaun Watson stack to complete the Cleveland Browns trio.
The only reason why I'm telling you who I'd pick here is because I don't think he's going to be available where I'm at. I'm looking at Joe Mixon here.
There's also, I'm also thinking of you're looking at Joe Mixon. Yeah,
I know a
running
lot.
back.
I know there's a lot of people who like, whoa, what'd you just say? This is Broto. What are you talking about? But Joe Mixon has absolutely no competition in the backfield on a high-powered offense. What makes Sleeper project him at 211 attempts, 863 yards, and 7 touchdowns? Like, what makes that? That would be ridiculously bad compared to his career.
You're half projecting him miss games.
Yeah, you're projecting him to be injured, which he hasn't been in the last few years. Only missed a couple games last year. You have to remember, like, missing 2 games a year is expected from a running back. So
I was also, as I talked myself into a Cleveland stack, I also realized I'm wide open for a Jacksonville Jaguars stack here as well, and just grabbing Calvin Ridley. You know what?
Like, hey,
there's a reach I want to make here too with Drake London, but I'm trying not to go so dynasty minded, man. I'm trying not to. I know I'm taking a long time on this pick. I'm gonna go Jacksonville. I'm gonna go Jacksonville stack and hope that they actually improve in the ways that we think. It's Calvin Ridley.
Okay, interesting there, Calvin Ridley. I like him. I mean, I like it better than the pick of Amari Cooper. I think that's way more upside than Amari Cooper has.
I honestly think that Amari's gonna, and I mean ADP and Sleeper mock agrees that Amari should be faded a bit, but that's what I was saying. I do think he's worth talking about. I think he's being disrespected a little too much.
So you have Travis Etienne and Calvin Ridley, Nick Chubb, and AJ Brown. Next team picks TJ Hawkinson, who is going very high this year. I think people are underestimating.
I was thinking about taking Hawk, but I didn't want to give it away in case you were going
I don't like him up there because
I do.
You know what it is? I just don't think that people are properly considering the fact that Adam Thielen was washed last year and Jordan Addison is a good player. And he's the one taking that spot. If Jordan Addison ends up being very, very good in that slot, he's going to be taking away TJ Hawkinson's receiving prowess directly. So I'm not crazy high on TJ Hawkinson at the moment.
Fair.
Ken Walker goes next. Again, another one where it's just like a little too high for me, considering they just took Jack Charbonnet, like a little too high. Joe Burrow goes next, followed by Deebo Samuel, Aaron Jones.
You get your Mixon if you want him.
J.K. Dobbins. Now, Joe Mixon just went, Team 5.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Joe Mixon went with Team 5. Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, and George Kittle go next. DeAndre Hopkins, no team at the moment. For me, this next pick is rather easy, and I think that the next pick is going to be someone who people do not sleep on as the year progresses forward, and I just opened up his card. It's Alexander Mattison. And the reason why I say that for Alexander Mattison is this guy performs every single time he's on the field, and he is the main back. So if you're looking at a guy he's 25 years old, he's had success. You're looking here at the Sleeper version. Shout out to Sleeper for their very good mock draft situation here. You see his situation where there was no Dalvin Cook. 17.96 fantasy points, 18.52 fantasy points, 18.53 fantasy points, almost 14 fantasy points, right? For me, Dalvin Cook was a great player. Don't get me wrong. Alexander Mattison, though, completely filled in his shoes. Right now on the depth chart, there's no direct competition for Madison. They're putting Madison on like their Twitter headers. They believe in the dude. And you're getting him I'm getting him in the 412. Imagine Dalvin Cook being picked here. Even if you're getting 3/4 of Dalvin Cook, you're getting a steal here. He's one guy that's not going to fall here. And if he does, congratulations to you, because that's easy Easy.
Yeah, these
Easy
are these
pickings.
ADPs that we're talking about in midseason. This is why it's good to draft sometimes a little early as well.
Because you have the advantage. It's a giant advantage. So I'm taking Alexander Madison, and now I'm going to get a little frisky. The last 2 years, I have begged you not to pick this man. The reason is because players at his position don't succeed as rookies. And he did not have a good situation on his team last year. But now he has a brand new, shiny rookie running back to take away some of the pain of being the main guy. He has a second-year quarterback who is, I think, inarguably better than Marcus Mariota, and that is Kyle Pitts, the third-year tight end, ready for his third-year tight end breakout. I'm taking Kyle Pitts here. I know that I was talking about I'm not taking tight ends early. I think Kyle Pitts has an opportunity to really break out beyond just having a tight end one performance. I
Well
really
said.
think Kyle Pitts has the ability to be on the wide receiver type of path as he was destined to be, when he was drafted. So I love Kyle Pitts here. How do you feel about that Kyle Pitts pick?
Yeah, I like it. I'm sad I missed out on my Trevor Lawrence pick, so I'm a little defunct.
3 quarterbacks go in the 5th round. Now the quarterbacks starting to really fly. Terry McLaurin, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Damian Pierce, who I cannot for the life of me understand why anyone would take Damian Pierce in the 5th round. Miles Sanders, Drake London, Trevor Lawrence, Dallas Goedert, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson. That one surprised me. And you are back on the clock. Matt, Nick Chubb, AJ Brown, Travis Etienne, and Calvin Ridley is your team so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in love with this team, but I definitely like where it's going. And this is what I was hoping for, is a bit of this wide receiver depth to fall back, where you have DJ Moore as obviously the obvious wide receiver one and a quarterback that is expected to take a third-year leap in Justin Fields, Michael Pittman, who we will talk about on some upcoming heat waves, and we've gotten into in some previous episodes as well. I still like his upside this season, but not necessarily the direction that I'm going. James Conner, an absolute touch monster. I'm going to lock down DJ Moore here. Never been a true wide receiver one, but always finished in the top 18 in points per game, in between 18 and 14. And obviously new offense, new offensive system, but there's not really any target competition for him. And he has been a perennially good target earner, even if it hasn't resulted in a true alpha wide receiver one points per game finish. I'm pretty happy about DJ Moore popping up my first flex spot and as also my wide receiver 2-3 behind Calvin Ridley. I'm looking at Jerry Jeudy a lot here for sure. I think Jerry Jeudy as the new Michael Thomas for Sean Payton is something that should absolutely be talked about and taken into consideration. But there's a guy that I've loved, I've touted. I think his breakout is truly upon us. I think he's about to surpass everybody on the offense and targets. And I'm going to reach a little bit because I know he's not going to come back around. I'm taking Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, nice. That's a good pick there.
Yeah, you knew there had to be a little favoritism coming into this draft, and I'm definitely grabbing Brandon Ayuk in my second flex spot there.
That noise you just heard is a man getting his heart ripped out.
Oh, Rashad.
Rashad and Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams is being completely undervalued this year.
I honestly think that Mike Williams has just as good of an opportunity to be outscored by Quentin Johnson as he does to be Mike Williams.
I think that is absurd.
No.
We'll talk more about that. Jerry Jeudy goes next, followed by DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, who's currently teamless, Darren Waller, James Conner, Mike Williams. So let's get to Mike Williams. Look, you are the guy, to be honest, that got me off of Quentin Johnson. So what is your
I'm not
rationale?
a huge Quentin Johnson fan at all.
So what is your rationale of Mike Williams losing his job?
I don't think that. I mean, Mike Williams is right now, he's a career 18 to 19% target earner. Keenan Allen is still in that offense, who I think is actually going to regress a little bit in target share, as we do see in small denominators as wide receivers get older. Obviously, they do begin to regress. I think Quentin Johnson could just as easily finish with an 18 to 19% target share as a rookie. The question is who's going to be more efficient. And obviously, Mike is going to get the higher opportunities, I think. It's more of like a range of outcomes rather than like a take. But there's absolutely a reason that they drafted that kid 21st overall. He's the predecessor. Or at least they hope. I don't quite necessarily feel that way, but I do see a world where they could both have 80, 90 targets, and it comes down to who's actually more efficient or falls in the end zone more.
I think Mike Williams is going to have a big year. I think that Cooper Rush being over there is something that people have to remember happened. The Chargers were being held back by that offense.
You just
And
said Cooper Rush.
I did say Cooper Rush. I always confuse them because they are Kellen Moore is who I'm talking about, but they were both the backup quarterbacks for the Cowboys
At one point, yeah.
at one point, so I confuse them. But yeah, I'm talking about Kellen Moore, the brand new offensive coordinator. I mean, you look at what wide receiver ones have done in that offense, and I want some of that. I want some making Amari Cooper the wide receiver 4 overall. Like, I want some of that. Michael Pittman, Marquise Brown, and Rashad White go next, which leaves me with some interesting decisions.
I like Rashad.
I like Rashad as well. He's gonna
It's a big opportunity share coming.
right.
But you do have some interesting choices here.
I think here is a good chance to go upside. We don't know what Javonte Williams' injury is looking like at the moment in terms of when he's supposed to be back. Let's see if there are any ready to go for the start of the season, says Jeff Legwold of ESPN. I mean, if that's the case, then getting him 6'12" is going to be completely impossible in about a month. So I'm going to take upside here. I don't think there's any reason why Javonte Williams can't be a beast if he comes back. And I'm comfortable here taking a shot instead of having a more, safer option like Tyler Lockett or Mike Evans. I'm going to go with Javonte Williams here. And then I think I'm going to go with a guy who's perennially underrated. And shout out to Matt.
Wide receiver too.
Listen, I'm about to get one. Shout out to Matt because he constantly talking about, especially in the PPR draft. The question is, who earns targets? That's the question. Who earns targets? And Deontay Johnson is a target
dude,
earner.
7-1.
It makes no sense. He's a giant sleeper.
And you're technically reaching on him by 7 picks.
And that's insane to me. So I'm going to go and take Deontay Johnson. I'm going to be very comfortable having him as my wide receiver.
You do have a wide receiver too. You technically have 2 wide receiver ones.
I mean, I hope
this
so.
Draft is going swimmingly for you, my friend.
I'm very happy with this. I wish it was my real life team. Tyler Lockett goes 7-2. Alvin Kamara 7-3. Isaiah Pacheco 7-4. Mike Evans 7-5. Christian Kirk 7-6. David Montgomery 7-7. Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And go with a duo of.
And Addison went first. Wow.
Yeah, duo of rookies back to back. Jahan Dotson goes 7-10, and James Cook, who I like as a little bit of a sleeper this year, goes 7-11. So that is, you are now here on the turn, Matt. You have 4 wide receivers. You have AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and Brandon Ayuk, and 2 running backs, Nick Chubb and Travis Etienne. So are you going to continue to fortify these positions, or are you looking somewhere else? What's your strategy looking like here?
I definitely think I'm going to lock that tight end in right now because there's a guy that I can't go against my process and saying that if you're not going to take the Travis Kelce, Hawkinsons, Mark Andrews, Kittle, and then even in the realm of Goddard and Waller, I want this guy probably not, I'm not going to say before reach that far, but I'm just as comfortable with the upside and the consistency, which is what you want. Potential top 5 points per game with consistent top 10 finishes. I'm taking Evan Ingram in my tight end spot. And it's not necessarily a fill the position. I think it really is best player available at ADP here as well. I like him more than Freiermuth this season for a single season. Obviously favor Freiermuth in Dynasty. I definitely like him more than Njoku for consistency and similar upside in, big 20-point breakout games. And then I'm obviously a wide receiver heavy guy. I like going wide receiver, but I might be time for quarterback. There is a trio of quarterbacks that happen to go in the late 7th and early 8th round that I love for redraft. And it does not include Anthony Richardson, who I would fade much further. It's Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, and Tua Tagovailoa, who I genuinely believe all 3 of those guys, and this is not hyperbole or a hot take in my opinion, have top 5 point per game upside. And because I leaned so heavily into the Cleveland Browns already, I'm
Whoa.
probably like in redraft, I don't think stacks are as important. People kind of need to acknowledge that. You're managing team, and obviously you're going to just punt week 5, for example, because I'm taking the Browns here. But I think it's Deshaun Watson. Rushing upside, obviously has the highest projections of everybody. He is the wild card of the 3 names that I listed. Tua's health obviously coming into play as well with that. But I'm going to take Deshaun Watson and just lock down the Cleveland Brown, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson stack.
Interesting pick there of the 3 quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Tua. Right now, I'd probably put Deshaun Watson as the last of those. But I
the
hear
only
you.
one that I have in my queue is Tua. You know what? All right, I'm throwing a curveball.
Oh, whoa! What just happened?
I took Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa goes next, followed by AJ Dillon, Treylon Burks, George Pickens, Quinston Johnson, Dak Prescott, who I was hoping fell to me. I'm very disappointed by that. Pat Fryermuth goes next, followed by Deshaun Watson, Brandon Cooks, Antonio Gibbs, Kadarius Toney. I'm not gonna lie, I was having a little like flashes, like fantasies of stacking Brandon Cooks and Dak Prescott on the turn here.
That would
And
have been
just
nice.
having the best 8th and 9th round possible.
I had to throw a curveball in it and just take Tua.
So this is where we're going to play some strategy games, because if you look at the board, you're going to see that team 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all have their quarterbacks now. So I'm not going to go and get a quarterback now because I'm confident that there's not going to be a bench quarterback. And if there is, then I'm willing to take that chance. So now we're in these places where we're going to take some chances, right? And yeah, so this is the chance taking place here. I feel like this is where you do it. And I'm also a big fan of a strategy that may not be a strategy that everyone likes. And I don't know if it's a good strategy having this many Broncos on my team, but here goes nothing. I'm going to draft Samaje Perine here. Now, there's 2 reasons why I'm going to draft Samaje Perine here. Number 1, I'm going to handcuff my RB here. I'm going to handcuff Jamal Williams. So, I mean,
handcuff your RB4.
Yes, that's right. Because look, if Samaje Perine, one of these guys is going to be playing and starting. So I'm going to be starting them.
You're a wild human.
There. Why? Why is that wild? I'm handcuffing. I'm cuffing. It's cuffing season because there really is no handcuff for these other guys. There's no handcuff for the other guys. I'm not going to take Michael Carter here. And then again, everyone has their quarterback. So I'm going to wait till the very last pick of this draft to pick a quarterback. So that gives me another opportunity to have some giant upside. And I'm going to go wide receiver this time. And I'm going to do something that I think you're going to like, Matt. Maybe Michael Thomas has a resurgence here. Let's look at why.
Yeah,
let's see.
I do like it.
I like Juju though. I do like Juju. There's another thing, Cortland Sutton here. That's an interesting
you gotta go
one.
upside.
It's an interesting one. Cortland Sutton's a little bit of interesting here. Alan Lazard.
Rashad Bateman.
Why is Elijah Moore ranked over Alan Lazard? Doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I'm gonna Juju, another one in New England. I'm gonna go Michael Thomas and take some upside risk here. Juju goes next, followed by Brian Robinson, Gabe Davis, David Njoku, Kirk Cousins, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Zay Flowers, Rashad Penny, Anthony Richardson, and you are on the clock with your last 2
everybody's just
picks.
grabbing 2 quarterbacks. All right, that's cool, I guess. All right, my last 2 picks here. I really do want to play upside. I want the swings. I want guys that have, still unlockable potential to kind of outplay their ADP by hopefully quite a bit. I don't really think it's that much of a crazy reach either. Let me just go down. I might be reaching by like 20 picks.
This is the time.
Yeah. I mean, you know what's going to happen, don't you?
No.
Oh, brother, you should know. It's Rondale Moore. We're
We're
taking Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore is coming up to 100.
You call me a crazy human.
120 targets for Rondale Moore. Not a problem. And then I'm going to dip back into the running back pool a little bit. Take probably who you should have taken instead of tacking your own handcuff if you were going to go down that far. And I'm going to take one of the more high upside handcuffs that if Kenneth Walker goes down, Zach Charbonnet has league-winning, league-breaking potential just based on touches and talent alone. I'm taking Zach Charbonnet with my last pick.
I'm honestly not I'm not mad at that one. To be honest, I probably
Rondale Moore is a throwaway, man. I'm never leaving any draft without Rondale Moore unless somebody likes him more than me.
Yes, my plan worked. Damian Harris, Dalton Schultz, who is a great pick here. Dalton Schultz has the opportunity to have a big season.
Facts.
Cortland Sutton, Cole Kmet, Jamison Williams, Odell Beckham, Elijah Moore, Dalton Kincaid, Rashad Bateman, and Jacoby Myers, which leaves me just QB list, and he just fell into my lap. How are you not going to start on Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder?
What about Danny Dimes, bro?
Fuck Danny Dimes. Aaron Rodgers, come on the squad. Aaron Rodgers is being underrated by crazy. Anyway, let's get into these final rosters. All right. My final roster, you can see it on the board here. Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Breece Hall and Ramondre Stevenson at running back, Justin Jefferson and Deontay Johnson at wide receiver, Kyle Pitts at tight end, Alexander Madison and Javonte Williams in the flex spot with Samaje Perine and Michael Thomas on the bench. And Matt, let's take a look at your lineup and tell the people.
I got Tua as the QB, Nick Chubb as RB1, Travis Etienne sitting RB2, AJ Brown wide receiver 1, Calvin Ridley as wide receiver 2 with DJ Moore backing him up in that first flex wide receiver 3 spot. Also grabbed Evan Ingram at 7-12, then Brennan Ayuk in that second flex spot. I did a crazy reach on one of my second to last picks to make his ADP jump even higher. It's always an agenda of mine. Taking Rondale Moore at 9-12, and then Zach Charbonnet with my last pick as one of the higher upside handcuffs, in my opinion, this season.
All right, Matt Ward, the Dynasty Don. Hey, it was fun. And the next time we see each other, we're going to be podcasting. Well, we're going to be dropping episodes for 32 days straight, baby, starting next week. Also, check out Matt's new content on the app if you have not yet already. An excellent writer as well as an excellent podcaster. The man is a jack of all trades, especially the two trades of writing and podcasting. Yeah, let's take away. Yeah. So it's also at Broto Fantasy. If you want to tell us who won this draft, who do you like? Do you like my picks from the one, or do you like Matt's?
I already liked your draft more than mine.
I'm not gonna lie, I like both of our drafts. I think I like how my team came out though. If I started the year with this team, I know Deontay Johnson is a little
no, I love it
as a wide receiver too, but I love this team, to be honest.
Pick.
And yeah, that's all from us. Don't forget to follow all of the social medias, youtube.com/BrotoFantasy, and we cannot wait to bring you the heat wave. We really can't.
Tonight, yet another staggering heat wave striking.
Oh, another teaser. All right, next time we see you guys, we'll be heat waving. Later.